Well, good evening to all the colleagues who at this hour are starting to log on to the page. We almost couldn't give the lecture. As always, we run into technical problems at the last minute. But here we are. Today we're going to cover a very important topic that we need to be clear about, and more than just understanding it, we need to practice it in order to start having direct contact with the inner worlds, to have contact with the being. Today we are going to talk about astral projection, an essential practice that is extremely important in this knowledge, and we will see why. But first, let's greet Elena here. We also have Angelica, Emilian, and Felipe joining us. So welcome everyone to this conference. In the background image, there is a character lying down sleeping, and he has projected himself and appeared in the astral in a huge temple, dressed as a monk, entering that temple. And here in the part of the sky, there is a symbolism like the symbols that appear in the astral, right? Let's remember that in the astral, everything or the vast majority of things are symbolic. We find another temple in the depths, and these kinds of dreams are nothing other than astral projections. All right, let's begin tonight's conference. Let's see who else has joined us here. Waritz and also Felipe. Well, welcome to those who don't appear here in the comments as well. A greeting to you. For those who are new, I recommend watching conference number 1 from the Phase A syllabus, which is about self-knowledge and its objectives. Margarita has joined us on YouTube. A greeting to you. All right, let's begin tonight's topic. We're going to talk about what astral projection is, how this process takes place. It's called astral because it is a body capable of moving among the stars in outer space. It can move among the different planets of the solar system. It can investigate things in space. We need to move beyond Einstein's concepts that nothing travels faster than the speed of light. This is a lie. It's not real. It's not true. Someone who experiences astral projection realizes that they travel at the speed of thought. And that is thousands of times faster than the speed of light. That concept of the speed of light is trapped in the third dimension, but it has nothing to do with the reality of movement itself. So if we keep believing everything the sleeping scientists tell us, we end up trapped in ignorance and never get out of it, and it creates an obstacle for us to investigate. This practice allows us to bring back information from the inner worlds. The being speaks to us through dreams. If you look at ancient books, they're full of this. Even the Bible is full of information about how, in dreams, God told one person or another, informed them, showed them things. That is nothing other than astral projection. Now, everyone projects at night, right? They leave their body. Leaving the body is necessary because the psyche needs to withdraw so that the body can recharge the energy it has spent. If the psyche doesn't withdraw, the person doesn't get sleepy, and they wouldn't be able to recharge. So it's necessary to project. The mental part and the emotional part leave the body. We are going to call that mental part and that emotional part the astral. There is the higher astral, which belongs to the mind, and the lower astral, which belongs to the emotional part. So, whether they want to or not, the person projects. Here, the goal is for the person to awaken their consciousness and have conscious astral experiences. What does that mean? It means that the person is aware when they leave the body, they realize when they are already in the astral plane, and they remember that they left their body in bed. They realize that they can move in a dimension where there is no weight, where there is no gravity, where there are only 24 laws, and this allows them to move. By flying at extreme speeds. So naturally the mind puts up its barriers, its skepticism, and all these mental obstacles that don't want to accept the reality of the different phenomena of nature. So people dream every night because their consciousness is asleep, and this dreaming also happens during the day. If a person awakens their consciousness during the day, they also awaken their consciousness in the astral at night. If a person does not awaken their consciousness during the day, then they do not have astral awareness at night. This astral state is graduated, it is measured by the being and by the divine law. A person is given a percentage of consciousness according to the work they are doing, right? It is a reward, it is something that is given to them for the effort and sacrifice they make in their own process of spiritual advancement. All right, we have the practice of astral projection, which we will look at in a moment. But it's important to understand that the practice itself is not the foundation of astral projection. Astral projection is really the result of the work of psychological death that one does during the day. Why? Because if a person does not master their emotions and their mind, they do not have access to the astral. Because the astral is precisely the mind and the emotions. No one has control over their mind and emotions on this planet. You feel a desire, and you go and act on it. You feel the urge to lie. You let yourself be carried away by the self of lying and you lie. You feel depression, you let yourself be carried away by depression and you become depressed. Are you afraid? Do you feel like crying? Everyone acts on impulses. So the self generates the impulse and the person obeys that impulse. They are asleep. You feel like using drugs, drinking, laughing, shouting, listening to music, being hypnotized by your phone. All just impulses. And everyone satisfies their pleasures, letting themselves be carried away by these impulses called selves' wishes. So, under these circumstances, what astral or whatever the hell? No, there's nothing there. So at night they go out, and since during the day they were asleep, hypnotized by all the things of the world, well, at night it's the same. But if they're dying to themselves during the day, if they're in self-remembering all day, struggling not to be externalized, hypnotized by the things of nature, then we could say that the person has a certain level to have conscious astral experiences. That's why the foundation of conscious astral projection is psychological death. After that comes the practice. But don't think that just because you have the practice, you can already project at will. No. No, because they are not dying. First comes death, and then the practice of astral projection. That's the order. So the struggle is to remain in self-remembrance all day, focused, inwardly attentive, and striving not to fall asleep to the things of the external world. People, the street, the demon, cars, money, the house, the bathroom, the kitchen, problems, family, friends, entertainment, shopping malls, everything that exists in the world. So if a person begins to renounce everything in the external world and understands that they shouldn't keep wasting their energy by getting interested in and hypnotized by all those things, then they can awaken in the inner worlds, in the worlds of reality. Because we believe that reality is what exists on the physical plane, in the third dimension, and that's not real. So if we are going to awaken to the world of reality, to the world of transcended beings, of beings with awakened consciousness, we must logically work on psychological death. Therefore, it is important, it is fundamental that we understand this process. If we don't make efforts toward death, let's forget about the astral. What are we going to do in the astral? Investigate, corroborate everything that has been taught to us in the lectures. To remember or to ask the being to allow you to enter a past existence. To bring back the memory of who the person was in the Second World War at the beginning of the 19th century, the 20th, 19th, 18th centuries. Well, in whatever era you want, but as I said, it all depends on the merits the person has in order to be given the information. You should investigate things related to death, for example, the lecture on what death is, what dies and what does not die, what it feels like to die, how your death was in your past existence, whether you died of old age or from some illness, an accident, or in the war. Yes, that is important. It is important to know that the tribunal of divine justice exists, and also to go investigate karma, to go investigate the electro-psychic design. Well, there are thousands of things that need to be investigated, the information that needs to be brought back, real and true knowledge that must be obtained directly from oneself and from nature. We can't keep going with all the garbage we've filled our heads with. Pure intellectualism taken from books, schools, colleges, the internet, gossip, concepts, beliefs. It's time to stop that and bring information from oneself, personal information. The information that is recorded in the soul of each person, true to more real knowledge, not lies, not the falsehoods, hypocrisies, all those things we've put into our heads and that right now we take as truths. That is what unfolding is for, to awaken in the inner worlds. Every person has the beginnings of an astral body, and with that beginning of an astral body, they can carry out basic investigations, not deep ones, just basic. So everyone can unfold in a conscious way. The being guides you in the work, showing you the egos you need to work on. Well, it shows you thousands of things. Beings, the being itself speaks in the form of symbolism. You have to learn the intuitive language of the being. This is something you will learn as people make the effort to interpret their own astral experiences. So it's important for us to understand that most experiences are given to us symbolically and that we have to interpret them. A person gradually learns this language. Until they reach a certain level, a certain ability to know what the being is telling them, there is a guide for astral experience interpretation. And if anyone doesn't have this guide, they can ask me for it and I'll send it to them so they have it. Well, in it you can find Some symbols, not all of them, because there are millions, but some that serve as a basic point of reference. This doesn't mean that the being can't speak using the dead languages we all have, indeed. Spanish, French, German, Italian, Mandarin, English. All these languages are dead. They are intellectual languages. The being uses a living universal language, and that language is intuition. So for that reason, most astral experiences are symbolic. They need to be interpreted. And some, will be delivered to us directly using this dead language that we carry, that we use. And just as it happens in the astral, it also happens in the physical, right? So we need to understand that this whole process is a path in development. Well, let's look at the practice now, how this practice is done. It can be done through concentration. You focus on the place where you want to go, and that is the objective. Also, of course, for this, you have to use your imagination. You can also do it simply by staying awake as you fall asleep, waiting for the astral body to separate from the physical body. You need very good attention to observe this separation, which is extremely subtle and logically, you need a sharp capacity for observation. Dying in motion from moment to moment is another way to astral project. And logically, there is also the use of mantras. So you can use any of these. Either way, you are going to astral project, no matter what. But if you are going to practice, these methods will work very well for you. On the internet, you will find 20, 30, 40 ways to astral project. Many of those methods are dark. What does that mean? It means that the ego is the one projecting, more not the consciousness. So here in the syllabus, we have the easiest, most effective ways to astral project, right? Therefore, it is recommended that people practice, instead of filling their heads with so much theory and so many things, to actually practice and handle astral projection in a positive, white way, right? Higher, conscious. You have to want to do it. You have to dare, because if you want to, you can, right? Really? The motivation that a person has in the work of the being is to see results. An astral projection is a result of the work of death. And bringing back information and and knowing things is very good, very pleasant, and very motivating and inspiring. So when someone remembers their past existence and says, wow, my father in my past life was my brother, and now he's here as my father because of this and this and this, then they understand why the brother is now the father or the mother, or so many things that need to be investigated. Why does the United States have the world under its control? In a certain economic aspect, there are some causes that can be investigated, or rather it must be investigated. Why did I have to be born in this country and not another? Under certain circumstances, what is the cause? That needs to be investigated. Why have I had karmic problems in that regard? So in the tribunal, you can investigate and find out what is the cause of that karma you have in relation to other people, in relation to the economy, to your neighbors, to your family, whatever it may be. So those are motivations, that reference points that motivate you to investigate things, right? They will give you any amount of information if you are dying. And there is some information that can be talked about openly, like an open book, and there is other information that cannot. So there are things that cannot be shared with absolutely anyone. Not with your partner, not with friends, not with your instructor, not with anyone. These are things that only concern your being and yourself, nothing more. It's good for us to be clear about that. Well, let's see. Also, there are some steps you need to take to astral project. But even if you don't do these steps, as I said, you will still astral project. Because whenever you get sleepy anywhere, you astral project. That idea of I'm just sleeping, no, you're actually astral projecting. So that word sleep, well, yes, the consciousness is asleep, but sleep from a conceptual point of view must be changed because it is undoubled. That would be the correct word. It is split. All right. First, you can do a conjuration, the Velilin, the magic circle, then a brief request for assistance from the father and the mother using your own words. Then, if you want, you can do a relaxation of the physical body, the mind, and the emotions. Very simple, very quick. This isn't something to make complicated. And then you can do some mantra chanting, right? The mantra chanting. There are some mantras that make the astral body vibrate. Let's see. These 5. And when the astral body is vibrating, it's much easier to separate from it. All right. It's important to periodically check to verify whether you are already separated or not. What should you do? You get out of bed without thinking, with your mind silent, without thinking, and you make a little jump with the intention of floating. Or if you don't want to get up, you stretch out a finger. If the finger stretches, because in the astral everything is molecular, elastic, then that means you've separated. You should set an objective. What do you want to know? Where do you want to go? Whatever you consider or whatever you want, if you're not ready to receive that information, they will tell you what you need to do to earn the right to receive it. So they won't leave you with nothing. They will always tell you something, right? And that's how they guide you, no? Because in the end, we don't follow anyone. We follow the being, and the being manifests. In the astral plane, the mental plane, the causal plane, in all the planes. So it's necessary, logical even, to have that contact with the being. All right, there are some symptoms that let you know you have already separated from your body. You might feel that your body spins. You might feel that your body floats or inflates, right? You might feel a jolt of energy from your feet to your head, right? You might feel your arms lifting up or floating, or your legs. What else? You might hear the sound of a cricket in your ears. You might feel, what else? That it spins at high speed as well. Well, there are many symptoms. And you can also directly appear in the place where you want to be, with the person you want to be with, or for the investigation you want to do, right? If you want to go talk to Master Jesus or some master of the White Lodge, well, that's the goal, and if you have the merits, it will happen. If you don't have the merits, it won't be given to you, because no one, absolutely no one, is going to get anything for free. That's extremely important for us to keep in mind. Here, everything, absolutely everything, is moon earned, right? So, that's something very important for us to always remember, right? All right, let's take a look at the mantras. There are 5 of them. We're going to talk about the basics. We have the Pharaon, we have the Laras, we have the the R, E, and the S. So let's look at the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh concentrates on the forehead, imagining a pyramid, and you pronounce Pharaon, stretching it out, prolonging it. The expression, the word is pronounced as follows. You can do it for about, you don't need to force yourself. About 6 seconds, 10 seconds, just a normal inhalation, right? Nothing exaggerated. And that's it. This is a very good mantra for stillness. As I said, you can also do it just with death in motion, right? Alright, the other mantra is Laras. With this mantra, you focus on the area between the eyebrows. It is pronounced as follows. Love. Very simple. There's nothing complicated about it. The third is the O, done as follows. Are concentrated in the heart. The fourth is the R, but it's like a cat's purr, right? Inward. Well, I don't know if you could hear it, but anyway, like a little cat. They concentrate in the larynx. And finally, then the S, which represents fire. You focus on the space between the eyebrows. These are the 5 mantras. You should use only one. If you want to change the mantra on another day, you can do so, but during the practice, you only use one. Alright? That is astral projection. That concludes tonight's lecture. I hope that it has given you some motivation to investigate your own matters. Those who are single and don't have a partner, well, you can investigate or you can ask. The partner that is assigned to you internally, you cannot approach with fears nor with specific obligatory intentions, or that being will adapt to your mental whims, because that is not going to happen. That simply won't occur. You must go in with an open mind, without any kind of preconceptions. No demands, no hatred, no grudges, no fears, none of that. You should simply go with a state suitable, a state that is neutral. That's it. But if you go in with demands and things, they won't give you information, they won't give you answers. Because if someone is afraid of being told something, then it won't be told to them. Or if someone wants it with eagerness, it also won't be told to them. So you must have a neutral, appropriate state, respecting the will of the Father. It's not about going to force the Father to show me what I want. That one will never happen. God will never. The egos of a degenerate element will be humiliated. We must have a certain level of humility because we are speaking in secret, not with the neighbor's child. So we must show respect. Well, if you want to, that is, if you don't want to, that's fine too. So let's keep that in mind. All right, well, some colleagues have joined us here. I'm going to say hello. Let's see. Here with us are Eneres, Veronica, Eucharis, Carolina, Pepe, Farcho, Also, Alirio, Marlene, Verónica, Tatiana, Claudia, Chai, Nestor, Vero. We are also joined by, and over here on YouTube, Henry is here as well. All right, over here, asks us, Carolina, can one travel through the fourth dimension, or is that only in physics? No, here. The astral projection is for the fifth dimension. The fourth dimension is accessed with another practice called the jhana state. But it's not recommended because those investigations are very complex and require a lot of practice. In order to enter the fourth dimension, on one hand, and on the other hand, it is very slow. In other words, you can't travel quickly, you move slowly. Flying, but slowly. On the other hand, in the astral, you move at the speed of thought, which is why, well, it isn't taught much. That practice doesn't mean that it can't be practiced. It means that the splitting is more important. So we have to keep in mind that we need to bring back information that is truthful and fast. Well, here Farcho asks, is astral projection related to dreams? I already explained that, didn't I? Everyone splits into two. What people call dreams is actually an unconscious astral projection. The person wakes up the next day and says, oh, I dreamed last night. That is a dream. But here what we're talking about is saying, I am in the astral, I'm going to return to my physical body. You enter your physical body, open your eyes and say, I was talking with Master Jesus, I was in the tribunal of justice, the being told me such and such. That is consciousness. Well, here Veronica asks, why doesn't verification work in the astral? Is it because of skepticism? It is, well, that's one of the reasons. There can be many, right? Fear, resentment, overwhelming, euphoria. You have to have emotional control, mental control, be calm, serene, composed in a neutral state, and well controlled. All right, Tatiana. Good evening. Before returning from the astral, do they show you the book open or closed so you know if you can talk about it? Thank you. No. You have to figure that out for yourself. Yes, you have to weigh it. Well, why am I going to say this? Why am I going to say it? What am I going to gain by saying this? Am I going to do it so people see that I know how to astral project, that I am awake, that I have abilities? Is that why I'm going to talk about it? Or what is the purpose? The purpose is to help, to teach, to set an example, to motivate other people. So what is the reason? And you come to your own conclusion, right? Well, Veronica, or could it be due to the mechanical nature of practicing verification, or a lack of longing for the goal? That's why I said it at the beginning, right? You have to want it. And if you want it, you can do it. You need to have strong willpower, enthusiasm, and enjoyment for what you're going to do. If you do it just for the sake of doing it with reluctance or boredom, it's not going to work. You have to do it well. Nestor. Hi, I want the book on astral interpretation. All right. Nestor, through email, you need to, let me have your email here. But anyway, we're going to post it in the WhatsApp group, the Fogeos group. We're going to publish it. So if you want, you can download it from there. All right. It's already, we're already publishing it. All right. Vero says, in the astral, I was walking down a path and planting succulents. What does that mean? Succulents are plants, right? Well, keep this in mind. Look, it's very important that you learn to interpret your own astral experiences, because I'm not an interpreter. I can help you with some basic things, but I'm not an interpreter. Because a person who interprets other people's dreams accumulates karma. And if someone starts revealing their own astral experiences, those experiences are taken away from them, okay? So, you can ask questions, but make the effort to develop your own ability to interpret, all right? Because you end up weakening yourselves. Besides, you expose yourselves when you reveal your psychology. And if a black magician hears you talking about all that, the black magician learns about your psychology and can manipulate you, can attack you, because he knows your weak points. So it's advisable that you make the effort yourselves. No one is going to awaken your ability to interpret for you. You are the ones who will develop it, right? Well, the being will awaken it in you according to the effort you make. But let's keep that in mind, okay? The path is the spiritual path, and planting plants is related to sowing knowledge in the minds of others, giving knowledge to others freely, so that the plants, the fruits of the work that needs to be done, can grow. Elena asks, which mantra is the most recommended for this practice? No, you have to try them and see which one you resonate with best. And based on that, well, you keep using it. I've used several. I like the Pharaon mantra, which has worked very well for me. But I actually do it more with the death in motion, with the death. Watch and pray, right? I mean, being dying, and staying focused on what I want until I appear there, or I astral project and get there, right? Well, John has also just joined us here on YouTube. And here as well, Maukomas Noku Cap says, I know it's not the most optimal for the being yours disrespecting the will of the masters. What does it mean to dream of carnations? The carnation, that's a virtue, a higher emotional state. Which state exactly, I don't know, but it's a higher one. The scent is related to emotion. It's a virtue. Waltz asks, what is the root of resentment? Well, but we're getting off topic. When we're giving a lecture and talking about a subject, it's good to stay on track. Words that are off topic, questions that are off topic, I'll answer them at the end, because otherwise the inspiration for the topic is lost. The focus on the subject is lost, you see? But all right, I'll answer you in a moment. Margarita, there's no sound. Is it my connection? Yes, Margarita, I think it's on your end. Claudia, are conscious experiences more important than unconscious ones? All experiences have a lesson. All of them need to be reviewed. Of course, from a research perspective, the conscious ones are essential. But from the point of view of information, everything needs to be reflected upon, examined. And you need to know what your being is trying to tell you. Well, Margarita tells us, I can't hear anything, right? But it's on your end, Margarita, your device. Eric, how could I differentiate between the astral and the mental? The mental plane is sharper, it has fewer laws, there's more freedom. Yes, things are more detailed. In the astral, things are more general. He says, I meant how to tell if we are in the astral or in the mental. That's it. In the mental, it's lighter. All right, that's it. Let's see. Well, I think there are no more questions. I think that's all for here. Well, over here, knock a cap says to dream about. Well, this has already been this, right? The root of resentment for Waltz Castro. Resentment is accumulated frustrations in the emotional part, psychological obsessions because one feels pain, and the person who causes the pain generates that resentment. So let's remember that the only one responsible for our pain, is ourselves. And the person who harms another does so because that person is owed something. In other words, deep down, it's our own fault. If someone hurts me, if someone attacks me, it's because I owe them, and that person comes to collect. If I don't understand this law of karma, of cause and effect, then I develop resentment. Instead of developing understanding, I develop resentment. Resentment to feel anger, hatred, contempt, rage, and the desire for revenge all over again. So we need to examine this because it is a poison that eats away at the heart, the emotions, and burns up the body's vitality. A resentful person thinks that with that resentment they are hurting the other person. But in reality, that's not the case. One is actually killing oneself. So we need to replace that resentment with understanding, all right? And know that the only ones responsible for their own misfortune in life are ourselves. Let's not blame others. All right, here Tatiana says, excuse me, I don't know if I misunderstood. For the practice of astral projection, shouldn't you go in with an objective? Yes, you should go in with an objective, of course. You set the objective. I want to go to a certain place. I want to, let's say, visit some place from the past, and I want to find out something about whatever it may be. If you try to get into someone else's private life, you won't be allowed to astral go project. And they will warn you that this is dark because you shouldn't interfere in anyone's private life. If you are given some lesson about another person's life, that's for you, not for meddling in someone else's private affairs. So if you go with intentions of gossip or lust, that will be measured. And instead of helping you or advancing you, then they will give you karma for trying to use this knowledge in a dark way. Because this is not meant to awaken evil, it is meant to awaken consciousness. Veronica, if they are urgent, sometimes they are unconscious, like when karma comes. They always tell you things in the astral, but what happens is that people just don't know how to interpret the experience. They don't pay attention, but everything is told to them. They tell you thousands of things, but of course, we also have memory problems, and we don't bring back the memories well. But all of that gets better over time. Carolina, what is the inner astral and the astral of the planet? Yes, the inner astral, which is where we spend most of our time, is in our psychological country every night. And the astral of the planet is going out here to the physical plane. And you say, well, I'm going to go to climb up the Eiffel Tower and look out over the whole city, Paris, from up there. And you go and do it. Yes, or if you want to go to Egypt physically, then you go and do it. That is the astral of the planet. But as I said, more than 90% of the experience, I would say almost all of them, are in the psychological country, because that's where one needs to make progress. Henry says, attachments to the likes and dislikes of each defect imprison the essence, and as a result, make astral projection more difficult. Yes, We have to work on death. We have to be in a state of self-observation, of self-remembering all day long. We shouldn't keep feeling the things of the world, because to feel the things of the world is to be emotionally attached to those things. Car, house, children, partner, the dog, the cat, money, cell phone, they remain emotionally attached to things. And in the astral, they can't project themselves because they're still tied to the mass. So we have to work on death and let go of attachments. Well, that's it. With this, I conclude tonight's lecture. Tomorrow we have a Phase B lecture. On Sunday, we have a reflection at 5, a practice at 9, and a public Q&A at 10. Tonight, in a little while, we also have a public Q&A with our colleagues, Hen Javier. So if you'd like to join us, you're welcome to do so. Also, for next week, there's an extremely important lecture titled The 7 Centers of the Human Machine. This is a lecture that will help us balance the centers and be able to create and develop the energy needed to form the internal bodies through suprasex. So it's a fundamental, extremely important lecture, and I really hope you can join us and start making the efforts to balance the centers. Well, with nothing more to add, I'll say goodbye. Thank you all very much for attending. Have a pleasant rest of the night and day, and may you have good astral. Go to bed. Never go to bed to sleep. Go to bed to awaken. Because that's the idea, not to keep sleeping. So a person should be conscious in the astral and conscious in the physical. No higher being sleeps. It's one thing for the body to rest, but the person remains conscious in the astral. So that's the goal. To awaken in every sense. Well, anything else for those who want to? In a little while, we'll continue our conversation over at our companion Javier's campfire.